right off the ground. In the greatest show on earth, today from Istanbul, Turkey, the 2007 Red Bull Air Race World Series continues right here on FSN. Welcome to Istanbul, where East meets West. The only major bicontinental city on the planet. The west side is in Europe, the east side is considered Asia. Istanbul is the largest city in Turkey, and once again this year, it's one of our fine host cities for the Red Bull Air Race World Series, the greatest show off earth. Well, hi again, everybody, and welcome once again to the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. Mike Goldberg, my partner as always, former air race champion, combat aviator Alan Preston. A major developing story concerning Mike Mangold. Lots of uncertainty concerning his status and ability to compete this weekend.
Oh, wow, there is, Mike, and it all began yesterday during qualifying. Now, take a look at this. You see Mike Mangold pull vertical right here, probably 8 Gs on that airplane, and the wingtip fails and leaves. And when a piece leaves an airplane, it creates a lot more questions and answers. He's thinking hard right now, what happened?
Well, what has happened over the last 24 hours is that his crew has worked diligently throughout the night, the early hours of the morning, to prepare his aircraft for competition. But still, we are uncertain at this point, Alan, if Mangold will truly be able to compete. And if he does, how comfortable will he feel in doing so? Let's get an update right now from the third member of our broadcast team. We welcome in Emma Griffiths.
That piece of carbon fibre that snapped off Mangold's plane yesterday, it was found floating in the Bosphorus Strait. Technical crews got it back into the hands of Mangold and his crew chief, Dennis Sawyer. They worked through the night in this hangar to permanently bond the tip back into place using structural adhesive. Mangold has just got back from a test flight, and apparently it flies straighter now. Back to you guys.
So, Emma, what you're telling us is you leave part of your aircraft in the water, you rebuild it all night, and it comes back more effective. Potentially. We will find out. Mike Mangold, we've talked about it so often, that long absence from the winner's circle. He would love to see that come to conclusion today. To advance to the semifinal round, he will have to better fellow American Michael Goulian. Once again, keep in mind, 12 pilots compete each week on the Red Bull Air Race World Series. The top 8 based on qualifying times advance to the quarterfinals. Then they are seeded 1 versus 8, 2 versus 7, 3-6, and 4-5. Beautiful afternoon here in Istanbul, Turkey. How big is the challenge facing our pilots? Let's go inside the cockpit of Michael Goulian as he takes us through the track.
To the start gate, we go immediately looking towards the chicane. Looking to try to get right through that chicane. Nice and cleanly. Pulling right to the knife edge. Here we go. Now turning back for gate number 4. For a good line through 4. Getting ready for the half human 8. As we go through 5, right up into the pool. Half human 8 looking for the next gate. Pulling about 7 Gs through the half human. Being right down, getting set up. We know the quadro's coming up, so the line is all important now. Getting ready for that, trying to make a short line, but also being very quick through the quadro. Making sure there's no side drift. Right knife. Pulling back another high G, almost 8 Gs. The turnaround, coming back to the quadro again. Descending, getting ready to roll, and now pulling very hard, right back towards the start gate. Making the shortest line possible through this Istanbul track.
Michael Goulian, thank you very much. You can hear in the voice of Goulian just how exhausting and challenging this course today is. We go down to the tarmac as our pilots prepare to race, and they start their engines. Alexander McLane and Peter Besenyei prepare to battle once again here in the quarterfinals in Istanbul. We remind you of the rules and regulations on the Red Bull Air Race World Series. The course must be passed through in the proper fashion, horizontal through the blue gates, vertical or so-called knife edge through the red gates. Penalties are incurred for the following. The first, flying too high over a gate, a 3-second penalty. An incorrect level of flight, that's also a 3-second penalty. Incorrect knife edge flight through a red gate, 3-second penalty assessed. Touching a gate is a 10-second penalty added to your time. And if a pilot deviates off course at any time, he will be disqualified. Now, ironically, for the 4th time in 4 events, Peter Besenyei and the Spaniard Alexander McLane meet in the quarterfinal round. Besenyei will be the first to hit the course. He is the number 2 seed.
Number 2 Peter, cleared into the tracks. Smoke on.
Peter Besenyei in the number 2 plate, the number 2 seed here today. He has already won twice in 2007. And our day of racing has begun. Besenyei sizzling at the start, 249 miles per hour. Now keep in mind, it is always horizontal through the blue gates, vertical or knife edge through the red gates. 19 gates in all over the water here in Istanbul.
A much longer course than they raced in Utah, and this is really going to work on these guys.
Remember, these guys, meaning Peter Besenyei and Alexander McLane, are meeting for the 4th straight time in a total of 4 events in a quarterfinal matchup. The one time Besenyei was defeated, he basically, due to disqualification, gave the race to the Spaniard.
You know, Peter Besenyei, 2 wins, 1 very atypical mistake. He's not likely to make that mistake today. If McLane beats him today, he's going to earn it.
Through the chicane, nicely maneuvered by Besenyei. A great look, just feet over the water here in Turkey. Gate 13, and already you get the feeling as we hit a minute that there's so much more racing, as you alluded to, than there was in Utah.
90 seconds doesn't sound like a long time, Mike, but I guarantee you, these guys are exhausted. That's a 250-mile-an-hour washing machine.
And 90 seconds is about your target time if you want to be the winner here, because the top qualifying time, turned in by Mike Mangold, 1:31.81 seconds. 2 gates to go for Besenyei here in his semifinal run.
You can see in his face right there how fatigued he is.
Besenyei looking to cross the finish line, which is gate number 19, and he will turn in a time of 1:35.57 seconds. So Besenyei now goes into the holding pattern. Now, interesting, here in Istanbul, the first pilot to fly doesn't actually know his official time. So he has to sit and wonder how well he performed, while the man going second, which right here is Alex McLane, hopes to better a time that he's not exactly sure what it is.
Number 36 Alejandro, cleared into the tracks. Smoke on.
But Alan, some pilots that are flying second sit in the holding pattern with a stopwatch. More on that a little bit later. Alex McLane is on the track. 246. Remember, Besenyei opened at 249, so very close there.
You know, this doesn't look like the McLane we've seen recently. He looks really smooth right there and fast.
We have said consistently, we know Alex McLane has the ability. He has all the talent needed to be a factor here on the Red Bull Air Race World Series circuit, and he's only 0.62 seconds behind Besenyei at the first split. But he's been air-prone. If he can eliminate some mistakes, he can move deep into these competitions.
I think you're right. I think he's inherently faster than some of these other guys. He's just got to limit the mistakes, as you pointed out.
The Spaniard, a World Series circuit high, 18 penalties incurred 1 year ago, but so far so good. A clean flight. He's 0.35 seconds off the pace set by Besenyei.
This is a nice run by McLane, and he's looking very fast here. You know, he's raced against Besenyei 4 times in a row now. Maybe he's learning something, Mike.
Alan, has he learned enough to better the master? Head-to-head in competition in a race in which Besenyei was not penalized.
I think it's going to be interesting to watch these last few gates, Mike. This is a long race, really physically taxing, and McLane's 13 years younger, probably in better shape. I just have to wonder if that's going to make a difference.
Well, he's trying to make up just a millisecond here as he storms towards the finish, looking to eliminate Besenyei early in Istanbul.
This is going to be close.
Here comes the finish. Alex McLane has done it. 1:35.53 seconds.
Gentlemen, these times are very close. Number 36 Alejandro, 1 minute 35.53, no penalties. Number 2 Peter, also 1 minute 35 seconds and 0.5 seconds, no penalty. Alejandro, you are through to the semi-final.
McLane has finally bettered Besenyei in a clean race, and he did it by 4/100ths of a second.
I think what we're getting to see here, Mike, is McLane beating Besenyei at his own game. Pulling harder, making the turn tighter, getting a jump on him right here, and beating him to the checkered flag.
What a great look from our dartfish replay. 4/100ths of a second, separating the winner from the man just eliminated. That man, Peter Besenyei. Kirby Chambliss has been eliminated much earlier than expected thus far this season. He'll try to get back towards his winning ways when we continue our quarterfinal coverage of the Red Bull Air Race World Series from Istanbul, Turkey on FSN. Back to the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. Mike Goldberg, Alan Preston. We are in Istanbul, Turkey. That's Kirby Chambliss. World Series winner 1 season ago. This is his quarterfinal run, and it's been well documented, Alan, that Chambliss has yet to even make his way to the podium in the first 3 events of this season.
You know, as we've pointed out many times, Mike, every one of these pilots is great. They're all fast. It doesn't take very much of a mistake to make you go from first to fourth, and that's where Kirby finds himself.
Kirby, 1:35.91 seconds. So not bad at all. That will be the time that Nigel Lamb, the 3rd Brit on the circuit, if you will try to better here.
Number 10, Nigel, cleared into the tracks. Smoke off.
After the box, smoke on, number 10.
So an opportunity to watch Nigel Lamb work his way through this course in Istanbul, Turkey. Born in Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe, Africa. Now calling his home the UK. The 3rd Brit, if you will, on the circuit. 249 miles per hour. What a mistake made here. He sliced through a pylon at gate 2 in the chicane. That's a 10-second penalty.
That's really going to hurt him, and what a shame, Mike, because this is really one of his first chances to show what he can do.
And he does have tremendous talent, but the major difference between Nigel Lamb and the other 2 Brits on the circuit is their aircraft.
Yeah, a little bit of an unusual choice here, Mike. This airplane is heavier. It makes a little more horsepower, but it's got quite a bit less wing. I don't really think it's a very good tool for this mission.
Certainly not in this mission, because the horns are going off like a New Year's Eve celebration. This is going to be a very disappointing run. In fact, it is already for Nigel Lamb.
I know this is disappointing for Nigel. It's disappointing for his team. They picked the MX-2 to attack this racetrack, and it's just the wrong airplane. It's about 130 pounds heavier. It's a little bit slower. He would have to fly the race of his life every race to even be in competition.
At a certain point, it's a risk-reward. He's trying to overcome a deficiency. This time it's his equipment, so he takes all types of risks, and today he's earning no rewards. In fact, he's being penalized almost on every occasion.
Yeah, it's just disappointing for him. I'm sure it's disappointing for his team, and I bet you could look for them to change their airplanes before long.
Interesting to see if that happens in the weeks to come, as we're just early in the season of 2007 on the Red Bull Air Race World Series. So Chambliss, to surmise, will advance very easily to the next round. Nigel Lamb, a penalty-filled run here over the beautiful sea in Istanbul, Turkey. And the time, a very disappointing 1:51.95 seconds with all the penalties.
Number 1 Kirby, 1 minute, 35 seconds, .91, no penalties. Number 10 Nigel, 1 minute, 51.95, 13 seconds penalty. Kirby through to the semi-final.
All right, thanks very much.
You know, it's like the olden days on the IndyCar circuit when Roger Penske had all the good cars. The guys with the bad cars couldn't compete.
No, the same thing is true here. I don't care how good you are. You've got to have an airplane that's up to the task, and this one just clearly is not.
And clearly ripping through the pylon. That wasn't even close, Alan.
Can't blame that on the airplane, though. I'm afraid that was all Nigel.
And that's all for today for Nigel Lamb, Michael Goulian, and look at this in the background, the North American B-25 here on the tarmac of the Ataturk Airport in Istanbul, Turkey. Much more racing ahead on FSN.
This is
known as the Byzantine Empire, Constantinople. We are in beautiful Istanbul, Turkey. And here's what you missed while you were away. Paul Bonhomme Winner of event number 2 this season has advanced to the semifinal round as he bettered Frank Verstey, the Flying Dutchman, with a time of 1:36.27 seconds. So he will meet the Spaniard, Alex McLane, in the semifinal round. So 3 pilots have advanced to the semifinals. Who will be the 4th to make it to the round of 4? Will it be the American Michael Goulian or fellow American Mike Mangold? Now, Goulian in a new aircraft this season. Moments ago, his crew went through a variety of tests on the airplane, including a compression test. Here's Emma.
The compression test was conducted because the Castrol team didn't know if their Lycoming engine was sealing properly. An engine that's not sealing properly isn't compressing air in the pistons efficiently and not getting the explosion it needs to maximize horsepower. However, the test came back positive. Goulian and his team are confident they've got the plane dialed in, and for the first time all season. Guys, back to you.
Emma, thank you very much. Routine and effective, the compression test. Taken a moment ago by the crew on Goulian's plane.
Number 99 Michael cleared into the track. Smoke off.
On the track, smoke on for Mike. Here we go.
Still a hockey player, the number 99 plane in honor of the great one, Wayne Gretzky, the best of all time on the ice. This time it's over the water. And this is Michael Goulian, 238 miles per hour. Huge expectations entering the season for Goulian. He has yet to be as competitive as I think many of us believed he could be.
And bang, right there, he starts off on the wrong foot. He flew right across the top of those pylons, cost himself 3 seconds, Mike.
An inauspicious start for Michael Goulian, the Massachusetts native.
You know, he didn't even qualify at the top 8 in Monument Valley, and I think we're going to see some reasons why right here. He's got to get his head back in the game.
Well, he certainly, as I said, came into the season thinking he could become a regular on the podium. He hasn't even been close, and he'll be challenged today by Mike Mangold. Damaged plane or not, Mangold is always a factor. So Goulian looking to be the 4th and final member of our semifinal round. And he hits the chicane for the 2nd time.
You know, actually, he looks pretty good. If it wasn't for that first 3-second penalty, he's not flying a bad race.
Now, I guess I do somewhat have to apologize to Michael Goulian. I guess last year we called him the American rookie so often. His fellow pilots referred to him around the race courses as the American rookie. So do not call him the super sophomore this year or he will never live it down.
All right, well, we'll find a name for him as soon as he quits cutting those pylons.
Well, the one name right now is the man who would like to have the 3-second penalty back as he approaches the final 2 gates. He's left the door open for Mike Mangold because of the penalty as he storms to the finish after gate 18. Gate 19, the conclusion of our course here in Turkey. And the time is going to be, with the penalty, 1:41.62 seconds. You see the disappointment of his crew chief.
3-second penalty, 2.
And not unlike the mistake made by Nigel Lamb, Goulian made his mistake very early as well.
Yes, he did, and this one is really a silly one. Just poor division of attention, an easy horizontal pass. He's got to get the wings down close to the blue line. The airplane's got to be below the top of those pylons.
So going into the holding pattern now, not the super sophomore, no longer the American rookie, it's Michael Goulian, and it is Mike Mangold about to hit the track.
Number 3 Mike cleared into the track. Smoke off.
Number 3 Mike cleared in.
Now keep in mind, yesterday in qualifying, the wingtip of this airplane, piloted by Mike Mangold, flew off. They recovered it from the sea and spent all night rebuilding his airplane. They say it's going to fly straighter than ever, but still, I've got to imagine there's some nervous moments in the tarmac area as well as in the sky right now for Mike Mangold.
Mike, this is one of those moments that really tests that bond of faith between the crew chief and the pilot. He's thinking right now about how well he put that on while he watches his pilot fly.
So far, so good, and they've made it past the point which became very famous yesterday on this course. That's the point where his wingtip violently ripped away from the airplane. So far, so good for Mangold thus far. Perhaps he's out of the woods.
You know, interestingly enough, it's not on Mike Mangold's mind nearly as much as that crew chief. Mike's flying the airplane.
At one point, if you're a pilot, and you are, Alan, you have to put all those other things out of your mind, don't you?
You absolutely do if you want to win.
5.66 seconds of an advantage here for Mike Mangold. Multiple storylines indeed. We talked about the damage to his aircraft. We have talked numerous times about the fact he has not won since his championship season of 2005. And I think it should be mentioned, the last time he faced off against Goulian, both pilots were physically less than 100%.
They really were. You know, you mentioned Mike not winning, but he's knocked on the door each time. And you can see by his flying, he's tired of knocking.
No question about it. He has been on the podium for all 3 races thus far this season. He and Paul Bonhomme, the only men to achieve that. And he is going to easily advance towards the semifinals because of the penalty incurred by Michael Goulian early, and a very strong run here by Mike Mangold. He is our 4th member of the Final 4.
41 seconds, .62, 3-second penalty. Number 3, Mike, 1 minute, 33.64, no penalties. Mike goes through to the semi-final.
Yeah, thanks a lot, man. Nice job. Appreciate it. Good job, Mike.
Mangold advances to the semifinals. Paul Bonhomme advanced earlier, ousting Frank Verstey. He will take on the Spaniard, Alex McLane. Peter Besenyei has been eliminated. It's Mangold and Chambliss and so much more when we return on FSN.
An important free offer for men with bald.
Welcome back to our continuing coverage of the Red Bull Air Race World Series here on FSN. Beautiful Istanbul, Turkey. Final 4 is set. The top-seeded Mike Mangold is in the semifinals, taking on the number 5 seed, Kirby Chambliss. Mangold already has 2 victories over the fellow American this season. And in a rematch of the finals in Rio de Janeiro, it's the 3rd-seeded Brit Paul Bonhomme against the Spaniard, Alex McLane, in our semifinals. You know, Alan, but really putting our day thus far into perspective, it's really been all about Mike Mangold. 11th hour repairs to his aircraft. We didn't know if he was going to be able to compete or not, yet he has, and he's been as good as he's been all season long.
He's been lightning fast all day. It's got to be one or 2 things, Mike. Either this track just really suits Mike Mangold's flying style. You know what happens in Formula One? Right tires, right suspension setup, boom, the guy's faster than anybody else. The other possibility, Mike just knows a lot more than the rest of these guys about how to make that airplane go fast.
There has been uncertainty and some difficulties that so far have been overcome today by Mike Mangold, but they pale in comparison to what we witnessed in our last event. Let's take you back to Monument Valley, Utah. The pilot, Steve Jones. Look at it in real time. This is Jones in Monument Valley. Listen to it, ripping through the pylon. It did extensive damage to his aircraft. He was shaken up, and we were truly concerned if he would make it back to the ground safely. Thankfully, he did. But still, I can tell you, Alan, the after effects of that incident are being felt by Steve Jones and his crew. And for more on that, here's Emma.
When Steve Jones hit that pylon in Monument Valley, he sliced through the rubberized canvas portion at the base, which is much stronger than the material used towards the top of these pylons. The impact shattered part of the landing gear, sending shards slicing upward toward the leading edge of the wing. Jones's chief mechanic, Lem Rulison, wasn't sure whether the damage was superficial, meaning it could undergo an on-the-fly repair, or whether it was structural, making it too risky to fly here in Istanbul.
Emma, did they have to take that airplane back to the manufacturer to make those repairs?
Yeah, they hauled the plane overnight to Guthrie, Oklahoma, home to Zivco Airplanes. Special equipment was needed to test if the fuel line and carbon fiber in the wing were compromised. They weren't. But this slight delay has caused Jones's team to go back to their old Extra 300 for this stop, something that they are not pleased about.
Not pleased at all, Emma. Thank you very much. In fact, Steve Jones did not even qualify in the top 8 here this weekend. But in the Final 4, Mike Mangold and Kirby Chambliss, and they will do battle next when we return right here on the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN.
Mike's done a lot of modifications to his airplane, so his airplane's fast. I mean, he's tough to beat. He flies aggressive. You know, Mike will go out there and do whatever it takes in order to get that half a second back. So, you know, when I'm out there against him, I know I'm going to have to be fast and clean. I can't make any mistakes, you know, in order to kick Mike out.
Now, basically, this matchup in the semifinals is champion against champion. Kirby Chambliss, our winner 1 season ago. Mike Mangold, World Series champion 2 years removed.
Cleared into the tracks, smoke off.
That said, though, Alan, both men equally frustrated recently. Mangold hasn't won in a long time. Chambliss hasn't even made the podium this season.
Yeah, I think if you talk to Kirby Chambliss right now, he would tell you that if it wasn't for bad luck, he wouldn't have any luck at all. Every single thing he seems to try just backfires on him.
Kirby Chambliss had a good run in the opening round of 1:35.91 seconds. Not a great run, but a good run. But I would say he must be faster here if he's going to be better than Mangold.
You know, and I think you're pointing out the weakness. He knows he's got to be faster to beat Mangold here, and I think that's what causes his mistakes.
You know, interesting, some of the messages that Kirby Chambliss has delivered in the last couple of events, talking about, of course, the bad luck, talking about today how Mangold has the faster aircraft and certain things. You would not have heard Kirby Chambliss say any of those things 1 season ago when everything was going brilliantly.
No, I think he's got a serious case of self-doubt.
Let's see if he can overcome through gate 12. So far, a clean run for Kirby Chambliss. Istanbul, Turkey. Mike Goldberg, Alan Preston, semifinal round of the Red Bull Air Race World Series. Look at the G's pulled, the force put upon the body of the American Kirby Chambliss. 4 gates to go.
I'm sure Kirby's thinking right now about the qualifying time Mike Mangold laid down, and he knows he's got no mistakes available to him here.
That qualifying time just under 1 minute, 32 seconds. Chambliss at 1:24 right now, just a couple of gates to go. Kirby Chambliss through the quadro, peels towards the finish. Chambliss trying to better his time from the quarterfinal round, and he has by 1.5 seconds. He's put up a 1:34.04. Good, but still beatable. The time turned in by Chambliss. He goes into the holding pattern.
Number 3 Mike, clear into the tracks. Smoke on.
And Mike Mangold, with that, now it seems, solidly repaired airplane, will try to move to the finals. Mangold is on the course, 246 miles per hour. Knife edge through the chicane. Great start for Mangold.
He slammed that airplane through the chicane right there. He's got winning on his mind today.
Lightning fast is Mangold. Ironically, it was Chambliss who was the victor last year here in Istanbul. Mangold trying to reverse those fortunes today. Through gate 6. He is behind, though, by 1.19 seconds.
You know, we've seen what Mangold's capable of with his qualifying time in his earlier race. And right now, he looks to me like he's very close to his qualifying time.
Here in the Golden Horn, Istanbul, Turkey, Mike Mangold looking to force his way into the final round. Trying to better fellow American Kirby Chambliss. Look at how close this race is with 8 gates remaining.
I don't think there's anybody out there that he would rather beat than Kirby Chambliss to win this race.
And I would say for Kirby Chambliss, he feels exactly the same way. Great friendly competition between these two Americans. Vertical for the second and final time. Pulling over 9 G's is Mangold, the former fighter pilot. He will have to work his way towards the finish and pick up about 1/3 of a second. 3 gates to go. Mangold, knife edge through 17. Looking around for the final 2 gates. And here he comes towards the finish. Can he do it? Yes! Mangold is in the finals.
Number 1 Kirby, 1 minute, 34 seconds, .04 with no penalty. Number 3 Mike, 1 minute, 33.61, no penalties, and Mike is through.
Thank you very much, Gunner, and I think it's Besenyei. We've got a good sponsor out here riding with me. We're going to bring home the victory next run. Stay tuned. We'll be back.
Mike Mangold obviously auditioning for my job, but I'll tell you what, he did the job right here at the end of the race.
He certainly did. You know, and I think there's something coming to play. This last turn, 16 to 17, has been decisive in several of the races. I think it could be a factor of conditioning in this long race.
Well, this is where it happened because he was behind by 0.35 seconds at the final split, and then he wins the race by just about 1/2 second, and he advances to the finals. Chambliss disappointed again. So Mangold is in the final. Who will he fly against? Will it be Alex McLane, the man who earlier eliminated Peter Besenyei, or will it be the Brit, Paul Bonhomme? our winner in Rio de Janeiro earlier this year. Find out next, right here on FSN.
Right now, Proactive Solutions.
When I watch the videos of me flying, if I do say so myself, you know, I can fly quite smoothly if I put my mind into it, and I think that's very important for going fast. My worst trait, I think, is I am painfully impatient. Maybe the guys who describe me as cool and calm, they haven't seen me when I'm in a hurry. Flying-wise, you know, I enjoy flying aeroplanes, and I've spent a long time doing it, so it's nice to be described as being able to fly smoothly.
Well, he has been smooth thus far this season. Paul Bonhomme, truly a rising star here on the Red Bull Air Race World Series circuit.
Number 36 Alejandro, cleared into the track, smoke off.
Alex McLane, the first to fly in this semifinal matchup. His career can be defined as one of feast or famine. When he has been penalty-free, he has been as fast as anybody in the world. But when he's penalized frequently, and it proves to be costly. He was perfect against Besenyei. He will need Allen to be perfect again here.
And that's the danger, Mike. He's made so many mistakes, it's got to be rumbling around in his head. And if he loses that aggressive nature, if he softens up, he'll never win this race.
And that's the difficult thing, the task that faces Alex McLane here, because the pressure builds as you get deeper into this competition. Here he is in the semifinals, about to go against one of the hottest pilots on the circuit right now in Paul Bonhomme. So he knows he has to hit it hard, but he can ill afford a 3-second penalty. He can ill afford not to hit it hard, though.
It's back to walking that same tightrope. He's got to fly this racetrack as hard as he possibly can, but he's got to stay error-free. That has not been easy for him.
His time thus far through 11 gates is good, but not great. At about 55 seconds. He needs to pick up some time here on the latter portion of the course.
You're right, Mike. He's just not pressing it hard enough here, and I think he's worried about knocking a pylon over.
So there is two schools of thought here. You could, yes, push too hard and incur a 3-second penalty, or little by little, you could actually give 3 or 4 seconds away.
I think that's what you're seeing. I think we're watching him lose this race 1 second at a time.
2 gates to go. And the precious seconds continue to tick on the clock, as it is Alexander McLane trying to make it to the finals here in Istanbul, Turkey. His run towards the finish, and that is not good at all. 1:37.01 seconds. Little by little, as you alluded to, Alan, he gave time away. So he will go into the holding pattern, and Paul Bonhomme will hit the track.
Number 55-4, cleared into the track, smoke on.
So Bonhomme needs to better the time of 1:37.01 seconds. His time in the quarterfinal was 1:36.27, but he was going up against Frank Verstey, who had previously been penalized, so he may not have pushed it as hard as he needs to here in the semifinal round. He opens at 249 miles per hour.
Well, I think we're going to get a chance to see right here whether he was holding back or if that was all he had, because he's going to need more than that to beat McLane.
Interesting to note, Alan, that Bonhomme has yet to be penalized this entire season. This the 4th stop in 2007. He is the leader by a little over a second.
I think that's something that he really takes pride in. He thinks of himself as a very smooth pilot, and he is a very smooth pilot, and he flies pretty much mistake-free, Mike.
And if he can continue to do so, as he's a 3rd through the track here, he should make his way into yet another final, which would be an appearance in the finals for Bonhomme for the 3rd consecutive event. And so far, so good. He is ahead at the split by nearly 2 full seconds.
I think the formula that he's using to approach these races is beginning to show that it's really been well thought out.
A thinking man who talked earlier about how smooth he feels his flying has been. And he says, when I put my mind to it, I can achieve, and he has achieved all season long. Now he's trying to place himself in a great matchup for the victory here in Turkey against Mike Mangold. And he has well over a 2-second lead. So we said the 1:37 was beatable, and Bonhomme so far is crushing it.
Well, barring what would be his first mistake of the season, he's going to cruise to an easy win right here.
And a finals matchup against Mike Mangold. Here it is, the final push towards the finish. And it will be the Brit, Paul Bonhomme, in the finals as he eliminates Alex McLane.
Number 55, Paul, 1 minute 33 seconds, 0.6, no penalties. Number 36, Alejandro, 1 minute 37.01, no penalties. Paul is into the final.
Great lunch, everybody. Thanks, Alex. See you later. Thank you for a very kind well done.
So the finals are set. Mike Mangold looking for his first win since 2005. He comes in as the top seed. He has just experienced so much in the last 24 hours, and he's now one victory shy of winning here today in Istanbul as he gets set to take on Paul Bonhomme in our final matchup of the day. It's the Brit, Paul Bonhomme, already a winner once this year, against Mike Mangold when we return on FSN. We are moments away from the finals here in Istanbul, Turkey. Will it be Bonhomme or Mangold? We know one thing, finally on the podium, it's Kirby Chambliss. Chambliss outduels Alex McLane in the race for that final spot on the podium. For the first time this season, Chambliss has made his way back to the podium. But this is the battle we've been waiting for. Mike Mangold against Paul Bonhomme to see who will win here in Istanbul.
Number 55, Paul, cleared into the track. Smoke on.
To the track, smoke on, 455.
Bonhomme will be the first to hit the track. His girlfriend Laura looking on, hoping that her boyfriend Paul will win for the second time this season. Paul Bonhomme set for his run here in the finals, and he opens at 246 miles per hour, maneuvering brilliantly through the chicane.
You know, Paul is flying this race course like he knows exactly what he's after, and that's the top of that podium.
Paul Bonhomme has put in better times in each round thus far in the competition. He'll need a good one here, 600 feet vertically.
9 times his body weight in that vertical reverse. You cannot work harder than that.
He has been an ever-improving pilot, and ironically, the story remains. Last year, Istanbul, Turkey, Mike Mangold debuted a new plane. The old aircraft, that one right there, taken over by Paul Bonhomme. He's basically reminded us that you don't sell arms to the enemy. He's been the better pilot since that point. And today, Alan, he would love to continue to display that dominance.
Mike Mangold obviously felt he'd use this airplane up, but it seems that's not the case for Paul.
Bonhomme looking for his second win of the season, as we mentioned before. 5 gates to go. Paul Bonhomme in the finals here in Istanbul, Turkey. The first to fly here in our final round on FSN. Good time thus far. Gate 15, 16, and 17 we've seen all day long. Always very tricky.
Paul Bonhamme's had this stretch wired every time he's been on the racetrack.
Plays it well there through 17. 2 gates to go. Bonhomme at 1 minute 25 seconds. Just 40 feet above the water here. There's the final turn. He will pull towards the finish. And Paul Bonhomme finishes with a time of 1:33.17 seconds. That will be the time to beat for Mike Mangold if he is to earn his first victory of the season. Bonhomme will go into the holding pattern. Mangold is set to fly when we come back on FSN. Istanbul, Turkey, 1.5 million in attendance today. Mike Mangold, the last pilot to compete. Can he better the time of Paul Bonhomme and win for the first time in 666 days, 95 weeks? And what a 24 hours it has been for Mike Mangold. Emma told us earlier he had isolated himself inside his hangar. For this, the opportunity to finally end the drought. Mangold opens 243 miles per hour. The time to beat, 1 minute, 33.17 seconds. Dennis Sawyer and the crew have worked so diligently just to allow Mangold to compete. And today could finally be the day he wins again.
The last 24 hours have been a non-stop race for Mangold and his crew. Now he's got to fly it.
He is in the lead by just 0.05 500ths of a second. What a great final so far. Through gate 8, knife edge through the red gates, horizontal through the blue gates, pulling 7.1 G.
Mangold's not only racing racing this track today, Mike. He's racing the ghost of that airplane he sold.
The ghost of the airplane, the last 24 hours, the 95-week drought. And now he has lost that lead. He is now behind at the second split by 0.29 seconds. Can he make the time up? 7 gates to go.
As crazy as the last 24 hours have actually been, race planes do not have rear-view mirrors. I guarantee you, Mike Mangold's got one thing on his mind, the next 5 gates.
5 gates separate Mangold from potential victory in the end of a very long drought. He is back in the lead by 0.65 seconds.
Bonhomme, Mangold, this is real racing.
2 gates remain. Mangold looking to win here in Turkey. 7.7 G. The clock sits at 1 minute 25 seconds. The final trip through the quadro, and he will storm towards the finish. Can he do it? Mike Mangold has won here in Turkey.
Number 3, Mike, 1 minute, 31 seconds, 0.78, no penalties. Number 55, Paul, 1 minute, 33.17, no penalties. Number 3, Mike, you are the winner of Red Bull Air Race Istanbul. Congratulations.
Thanks so much. Yeah, it's a great one. The whole plan works, comes together. Got a great crew behind me. You can't thank the technicians enough. I mean, it's just a pleasure to fly just past airplane. Thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody. Well done, Mike.
What a great display of emotion by Mike Mangold. And congratulations indeed to Dennis Sawyer, the entire crew. Mike Mangold 24 hours ago didn't even know if he would be able to compete. Not only did he compete, he won this race.
He beat him in one hard 270-degree turn. That's the only difference in the race. This is a beautiful race by both these guys. They look like artists out there. There's 1.5 million people here, and I guarantee you not one disappointed person.
And with that, 95 weeks, 666 days of frustration comes to an end. Mangold having a little fun on the tarmac. The smoke is truly on. The celebration will continue, I'm sure, for many days, at least until the next event. Mike Mangold knocked off Mike Goulian, then bettered fellow American Kirby Chambliss, and in the finals, he was faster than Paul Bonhomme.
Last year at this very same event, Mike Mangold made a very calculated and some would say risky move in changing that airplane. Today, everything he did was validated.
And with that, Alan, that risk is finally rewarded. And I'll tell you what, he's going to share the rewards with that man, Dennis Sawyer. He put Mangold back in the air, and from there, this tremendous pilot was able to reign supreme. And with the victory today, Mangold pulls to within 1 point of our World Series leader after 4 events. That's the Brit Paul Bonhomme. Peter Besenyei 4 points back. Chambliss makes the podium for the first time this season. And perhaps equally as surprising, Michael Goulian has not earned a single point in 2007. Mike Mangold down on the tarmac with Emma Griffiths. He's waited a long time to do this winner's interview.
Mike, amazing time out there. Were you surprised?
No, flying against Paul, you got to pull out one of your best runs. So I just tried to do what I did earlier today and repeat that run.
You and the crew really battled to get the plane into flying shape for today.
I can't say enough about the technicians and their quick repair job. I mean, without these guys, my technician plus the other guys pitched in and helped. I mean, I couldn't be there. So really, the praise and the credit goes to those guys.
Thanks, Mike.
Well, thank you, Emma. Very classy that Mike Mangold shares the praise with his very hardworking crew. But realistically, today is about the end of a very, very long drought.
It really has been for him. He's not accustomed to not winning, and anybody that knows Mike Mangold knows the top of that podium is the only place that's important to him, and I'm glad to see him there.
He is there for the first time since 2005, but in the big picture, 2/3, a second, and now a win. Mangold may very well have been our best pilot so far here in 2007. For my partner Alan Preston, Mike Goldberg saying so long from Istanbul, Turkey. We will see you next time from Interlaken, Switzerland, right here only on the Red Bull Air Race World Series on FSN. So long, everybody.